What if Mace Windu was able to stop Anakin Skywalker from killing the Tusken Raiders? This was a pivotal moment that helped Anakin Skywalker turn to the dark side in the end, so what if he never did and Windu was able to catch him? That's what we're going to get into. Stay tuned to the end as we're going to have a special announcement for those that want to be members on this channel. Anyways, let's get right into it. Our story begins inside of the Jedi Temple, as Yoda is meditating in his quarters. In the original timeline, Yoda had a vision or feeling that Anakin was in pain after he killed the Tuskens. But in this timeline, Yoda was having a vision before Anakin got to the camp. In this vision, Yoda saw Anakin holding someone, then he felt unimaginable rage, and he heard sounds and screams of slaughter. Yoda slowly opened his eyes, and he beckoned for Mace Windu to join him here, so they could discuss what this was. Windu would eventually show up, and Yoda described the vision to him, asking what it could be about. For all they knew, Anakin was supposed to be protecting Senator Padme on Amidala on Naboo, and Windu said that Obi-Wan mentioned that Anakin could be a bit reckless when he puts his mind to something. So together, they contacted Obi-Wan, who was about to enter a secret base on Geonosis, and they asked Obi-Wan if Anakin mentioned having trouble with anything. Obi-Wan stopped to think, and then he realized something. He told the Masters that Anakin was having dreams about his mother dying. Yoda and Windu looked at each other, thanked Kenobi, and now knew that this is where Anakin would be, Tatooine. Windu said he would go and try to stop Anakin, try to stop him from whatever he was going to do, as it may be too late, but someone needed to be there for him. Yoda nodded disappointedly, and Windu took off. On Tatooine, Anakin and Padme landed and began looking for Shmi. They started with Watto, then out into the Dune Sea, and eventually they would come upon the Lars homestead. And this is where Anakin would learn the truth. His mother was captured and possibly killed by a raiding tribe of Tuskens. Anakin and Padme would sit for a long meal, learning everything they could, before Anakin decided he was going to find her. All of this would give time for Windu to try and find Anakin, as he was unreachable by comms at the moment. Windu would land on Tatooine and put a very little amount of psychometry he had to the test. After some time, he learned that Anakin went into the Dune Sea, and so Windu began searching for the young Jedi Padawan. And as Windu searched through the Tatooine area, he realized just how far systems of the Outer Rim had fallen without the Jedi presence. Back in the High Republic era, the Jedi were better at helping those in the Outer Rim, but many wars had changed things. Windu now would press on for Anakin. Both of them would travel through the night on different paths, Windu eventually finding the Lars family and convincing Padme to tell him where Anakin went, saying he was in danger, then talking to the same Jawas Anakin spoke to, until finally, he found the Tusken camp. Windu felt into the Force, and he felt great anguish and pain radiating from Anakin. Something was terribly wrong. And inside the camp, Anakin was holding his mother as she died in his arms, and he felt the anger he always knew was inside of him begin to rise. It was a fire that could only be put out with his lightsaber, and so Anakin stood up, ready to cut down every single man, woman, and child in this camp. He would slaughter them like animals. And so Anakin cut through the hut, but as he emerged, he was not facing Tuskens, but rather Mace Windu stood here. Anakin was extremely confused, and this only made him more angry. He was not thinking straight at all, and he yelled out, asking why Windu was here. Windu said that Yoda had a vision of Anakin in pain, so he came to help. Anakin was pacing around now, looking at the ground, looking to the sky. He was spiraling, he was angry, and he sarcastically thanked Windu for the help. But he was too late. His mother was dead, and Anakin pointed his lightsaber at Windu, saying it was the Jedi's fault. He was seething with anger, and he said that maybe if the Jedi actually cared about the people in the galaxy, then his mother would be alive and free. But no, they only care about their power within the Republic. They allow slavery, they allow crime, they don't even blink an eye at the Outer Rim anymore. Windu told Anakin to calm down and come with him so they can talk, but Anakin said he was done talking, and he sprinted at Windu. The young Padawan was unbalanced, nowhere near ready for an actual fight with Windu, but Windu still ignited his saber. He blocked a strike from Anakin, then turned and force pushed him into the cliffside. Anakin slammed his head, and he was quickly knocked out. Windu looked around at the Tuskens, all of them circling him, with their staffs ready, but he held up his lightsaber grabbed Shmi's body, then Anakin's body, and put them on his speeder before heading back to the Lars. After a few hours, Anakin would begin to wake up to see Mace Windu placing a bowl of soup or something near him. Anakin's anger had mostly subsided, and now he was just left with great sadness for his mother, and shame for how he acted upon her death. That was not the Jedi way. He wondered if he was going to be expelled from the Order, but Mace sat down next to him, and he said that Anakin was right. Not completely in the way he acted, but his words were enough to get Mace to think about everything. And Mace gave a lesson to Anakin now about a time when the Jedi did occupy the Outer Rim, using something called a starlight beacon that opened up communication, travel, and support from Jedi to the Outer Rim citizens. Unfortunately, it was destroyed, and the Jedi lost their way with the Outer Rim almost completely, only getting further and further from it. But Mace said that perhaps it's time they restore their presence here. Anakin was shocked, but he said this was a great idea. The two of them would talk for a bit longer, but eventually Mace would have to head back to Coruscant. He didn't tell Padme or the Lars about what Anakin tried to do, and once Mace left, Padme comforted Anakin over his mother's death. And as Mace left, he contemplated everything. Anakin had given in to darkness, but he didn't kill any of the Tuskens. He'd just lost his mother. But Mace was able to talk him out of his rage. After knocking him out, of course. He wanted to give Anakin another chance. Right now, he did trust the boy. He saw that he could bring good and peace to the galaxy, and he knew that the young Jedi could serve in an excellent role as a lead aide in the Outer Rim if the Jedi choose to go down that path. From here, events would play out as we all know. Anakin, Padme, and Obi-Wan would be captured and brought to Geonosis to be executed. But before Windu and the Jedi rescue team could take off, Windu and Yoda spoke about what happened on Tatooine, and the two of them agreed that the Outer Rim must become a top priority for the Jedi once more. But the Battle of Geonosis would take immediate priority, as Windu and 250 Jedi would travel and try to rescue Anakin, Padme, and Obi-Wan, only to be met by an onslaught of thousands of battle droids. The Jedi would fight valiantly, and when all hope seemed lost, the clone army would arrive. The battle would play out, with the Republic forces taking on the Separatists head-on, and eventually Dooku would fight Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Yoda before the Battle of Geonosis concluded, and the Jedi returned to Coruscant. That evening, Chancellor Palpatine would declare that a war was now beginning between the Republic and the Separatists, and the Jedi would be asked to be the generals of the Grand Army of the Republic. Palpatine's entire plan was riding heavily on the Jedi fighting in the war, as this would basically be the Jedi abandoning hundreds or thousands of Separatist planets that were technically in the Republic, to fight against them. But in a council meeting, the first meeting that the newly promoted Obi-Wan Kenobi was a part of, Mace Windu said that perhaps it is wrong for the Jedi to join the war on the side of the Republic. This was actually very hard for Windu, as he loved the Republic, but he knew his responsibility as a Jedi was to the people, not to a political system. And Windu went on to describe Tatooine, how it was a planet in desperate need of aid from the Jedi, a planet riddled with crime, slavery, and disagreements leading to innocent death, including Anakin's mother. And so Windu asked the Jedi what they thought. Oppo Rancy said he agrees it is time to return to the Outer Rim, as the Jedi are peacekeepers, not soldiers. Plo Koon spoke up, saying that the Starlight Beacon should be put back into construction, along with many other beacons across the galaxy. War is inevitable, and Plo said that they do not have to fight, but instead they should be a neutral party, offering medical aid and refugee support to anyone who needs it, Republic or Separatist. They could also help negotiate peace agreements during the war. The Jedi looked around. Discussions would continue, but in the end it was decided. The Jedi Order would not fight in the Clone Wars. Instead, they would aid citizens in need. And when Yoda and Windu delivered this message to Palpatine, he was obviously extremely angry, and he urged the Jedi to rethink this, but Yoda said they could not. It was not their place to choose which planets to support when they are supposed to keep their peace among all citizens in the galaxy, and as Grand Master, this is where he has failed the most. So Yoda informed Palpatine that the Jedi are no longer a part of the Republic, but instead are a neutral party in the galaxy during wartime, and they left the office. Palpatine was very discouraged, but he knew the war must go on. Perhaps in time, the Jedi will reconsider once they see that the Outer Rim is too far gone for Jedi support. And so the war would begin, with clone commanders in charge of the armies rather than Jedi commanders. And while the clones fought the droids in battle after battle, the Jedi would begin spreading their influence into the Outer Rim, or serving as a neutral party for the core and mid-rim worlds in the Clone Wars. In the Outer Rim, half of the Order would focus on bringing aid to those in need. This half of the Jedi would be led by Jedi Masters Shaak Ti and Plo Koon, and this is also where Anakin Skywalker would be stationed. For a few months, the Jedi would travel to various worlds with medical supplies, food, care packages, and they would build stations where people could come to them and inform them of a dispute. The Jedi would try to negotiate peace between the fighting parties, and things would go actually quite well for a bit. But after a bit, the Jedi decided it was time to abolish slavery in the Outer Rim. And this is where Darth Sidious came in. He was able to hire a bunch of bounty hunters to rally the crime lords together and try to push the Jedi out of the Outer Rim with force. And this would actually spark a new war, a war the Jedi would actually participate in. So while the Clone Wars were going on, with Jedi such as Obi-Wan Kenobi, Yoda, Mace Windu, Ki-Adi-Mundi, and so many others traveling to core worlds to provide aid during this war and negotiate peace treaties, the Outer Rim would see the start of the Jedi versus crime syndicates war. With the help from Sidious setting it all up, crime syndicates including the Pikes, the Black Sun, and the Hutt clan would rally together to push the Jedi out of the Outer Rim and show them that it was truly lost. The criminal armies would attack the Jedi refugee camps, they would bomb medical facilities, and the Jedi would be forced to fight them. This would go on for a few months, and Anakin would lead the charge for the Jedi as he began to feel a great purpose in these fights. Freeing the slaves and helping those in need gave him a greater purpose as a Jedi as a whole, and so he would be able to fight back with great strength. He couldn't save his mother, so instead Anakin honored her life by saving thousands of others who needed help. The turning point of the Jedi vs. Syndicate War would come on the planet Zygeria, as Anakin was leading a mission to end the slavery here. Unfortunately, he and the 100 Jedi that were with him were hit with a surprise attack as the Zygerians had their army and the Pike army attack the Jedi settlement. Anakin was fighting, watching Jedi die near him, and he was about to call for a retreat when he heard something in the distance. From behind the slavers and the Pikes, thousands of citizens suddenly joined the fight. It was a slave rebellion, and this gave the Jedi opportunity to fight back and win this battle. Zygeria would see slavery eradicated, and the citizens would rally behind the Jedi. And word of this slave rebellion would spread throughout the Outer Rim. This would inspire civilians on many planets to rise up and take down the crime syndicates fighting against the Jedi. And because of these uprisings from the citizens to join the Jedi vs. Syndicate War would come to a swift end, with victory for the Jedi and the people. As for the other war, the Clone Wars, things were at a stalemate. Separatists and Republic were trading victories, as Palpatine was controlling it all, waiting for the Jedi to enter the war. But this would never happen. He was becoming increasingly frustrated, and behind his back, there were many senators putting together a motion to end this war. Many planets had negotiated peace treaties thanks to the Jedi, but they were seemingly shut down by the Republic. This was strange, and so the senators, led by Senator Amidala, would reach out to the Jedi, asking what was happening with these treaties. Padme would speak to Obi-Wan Kenobi, a key leader of the negotiations, earning him the nickname The Negotiator, and he said that many peace treaties have been sent to the Chancellor's office, but they never received a response back, so they could only assume the Senate was denying them. But Padme said the Senate never knew of these treaties, which could only mean one thing. Chancellor Palpatine was vetoing these treaties himself, like a dictator or emperor of sorts. And so Padme would speak to many senators, informing them of this, and she would do this for about a month, rallying many people to her cause, and in a Senate meeting, Padme would decide it is time. She would bring her pod to the center, interrupting a speech from Palpatine, and Padme Amidala would call for a vote of no confidence, stating that Palpatine was continuing the war for no reason. And Palpatine was given an ultimatum of sorts: negotiate a peaceful end to the war, or step down from his position. Of course, Palpatine would accept this, but he would do neither. He would claim that his emergency powers allow for him to stay in office until the conflict ends, and he cannot simply end this war with the separatist threat looming. And so Padme and other senators would go back to the Jedi and ask them to intervene. Palpatine was now the one getting in the way of peace, and so Padme urged the Jedi, the so-called Keepers of the Peace, to get him to step down. The Council would talk about this, and ultimately decide this was indeed the correct path. And so one day, as Palpatine was sitting at his desk, Yoda, Mace Windu, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ki-Adi-Mundi, Kit Fisto, and Stas Ali would enter the Chancellor's office and tell him to step down or be arrested. And Palpatine finally saw his opportunity. If he could just kill these Jedi, then he could frame them for trying to overthrow the government and rightfully execute Order 66 to build his empire. To be honest, Palpatine was spiraling a bit. For the first time, he wasn't in complete control of the outcome, and he was delusional to think he could win this fight. Even so, he called 2 crimson lightsabers to his hand and spun at the Jedi. He quickly cut down Ki-Adi-Mundi and Stas Ali, then blasted Kit Fisto out of the window with lightning, catching the Jedi off guard with the revelation that he was the Sith Lord. But Yoda, Windu, and Kenobi were too strong for him. After a minute of fighting through the halls, Yoda was able to flip through the air, stab Palpatine through the heart, and bring a swift end to this battle. From here, the Senate would learn the truth of why Palpatine continued the war for so long, and peace negotiations would resume. Dooku would try to stop these negotiations for a bit, but as he saw how both the Jedi Order and the Republic were rebuilding in a way he never imagined possible, he was content with his impact, realizing the war may have helped eradicate the corruption that he hated. So Dooku would go into hiding, a sort of early retirement, and watch the galaxy begin to be restored. Grievous would be destroyed, the Separatist leaders would be arrested, and in time, the war would come to a swift end. The Republic would elect Senator Padme Amidala as Chancellor, and she would help the Jedi restore peace in the Outer Rim as well. Before long, the Starlight Beacon would be restored, and Jedi Master Anakin Skywalker would be the leader of it. The unveiling of it would see Master Anakin and Chancellor Padme unite for the first time since Tatooine and before the wars, and they would show the Outer Rim citizens that they were not alone. Starlight would work as a hospital, an observatory, research station, a market, and a cultural center for the galaxy, providing visitors from all around with a glimpse into the diverse cultures of countless worlds in the Republic. These exhibits would be constantly updated to ensure representation for many worlds, and inside was also an archive, and soon the station would house the largest number of Jedi outside of Coruscant. Peace was restored across the galaxy. Padme and Anakin would keep their relationship professional, at least for now, as Anakin was happy with his role in the rebuilding Jedi Order. And folks, that is where our story comes to an end. Hope you guys enjoyed. Before we talk about it, I want to talk about something else. For channel members, I want to be doing something special with Penti Patrol Star Wars. First of all, shout out to the members that we have right now: Mert Keskin, Sheld Crane 017, Obi-Wan Kenobi, BSE, Martin Bosley, Wonder Beats, Bill Plays, Jordan Hall, JB Country Ball 12, Edward Matheson, Arctic Fox, Shalil Mehta, Andrew Winslow, Brad Grand, GS, Diamond Constant, Code Azura, Abe Cattell, There's Kyle, Connor Frederick, TW, Geodude, Nintendo Gaming, Dovahound, Cody Sanders, Rob M. Climb, Tanner Pomerantz, Michael Sampson, and Frostbite Forever. Appreciate all the members we have, and for all members of the Star Wars Galaxy YouTube channel, I'm going to be doing a live stream with Penti Patrol Star Wars before the first episodes of The Bad Batch Season 3, and then after pretty much every single episode the following day. So if you want to be there for those live streams, just become a member. There's a join link in the description. Appreciate you guys. It's just $4 a month. If you can't, no big deal, but that's just how I like to do it. The videos and the content over there is fun for sure for members, and it's only going to keep getting better, so do that if you want. And let's talk about today's story. So this is a kind of strange concept, right? Someone showing up to actually stop Anakin from the Tuskens. I don't know if I've seen this. I did see that PPSW, Penti Patrol, did just put out a video or a thumbnail for his video tomorrow. That's basically what if Anakin told Windu about the Tuskens. So weird coincidence, but that should be great as well. Interested to see how that one goes. But yeah, I think mine is very different because in this one, Anakin never does kill the Tuskens. So Mace instead of seeing Anakin's darkness and expelling him, I had him take a path of seeing instead why Anakin did this and, why he was about to do this. And because he never did kill the Tuskens, he didn't go fully dark, and Mace was able to calm him down and see that, maybe the Jedi are wrong and that the Outer Rim needs help. Ultimately, this would lead to the Jedi not fighting in the Clone Wars, which I think is super important. They should not have done that, because as I tried to point out in the story, the Separatist planets are technically Republic planets, so the Jedi were literally fighting against the Republic in a way, which, yeah, that's dumb. So, yeah, wanted to do that, and then ultimately Palpatine spirals with his plans just not going according to plan. And yeah, I mean, let me know what you thought. Appreciate you guys. Link in the description to become a member, and I'll see you in the next video.